Hello, my name is Justin.
And my name is Raistlin, and we are really excited to be here today to present these games for you.
Yep, this is Game 2 of Flash Wolves vs. AHQ in the 2016 LMS Spring Finals. Now, if you're not watching with us on crossfade.io, we are going to be starting the VOD at 5 minutes and 39 seconds. And of course, if you're on YouTube, the VOD is in the description below.
Yeah, and these games have been super exciting so far.
A little bit of question marks towards that Kindred pick, and it looks like a substitution is in order as well because of that performance from Mountain.
Looking at that first game, it actually might not have been so bad if they would have actually banned out the Gangplank going into that composition, because it would have stopped the scaling and it would have stopped that free cleanse for the mid lane, allowing them to put more pressure on whatever mid laner was there.
Yeah, I don't want to say that they weren't expecting the Gangplank pick because Flash Wolves have played a lot of Gangplank in the regular season. So it sounds like Gangplank, Lucian, and Ezreal were very popular picks for the Flash Wolves coming in, so they've had to have known that that was an option. But here we go. Into picks and bans. And actually, I was incorrect about Mountain staying in despite his less than stellar performance on the Kindred. So hopefully we won't see AHQ opting to go for that one early on. Or maybe they just have some other plan that they hope to execute better the second time around. But Chawi comes in for Westdoor.
And for those of you tuning in, AHQ and Flash Wolves both decided to pick the same sides that they're going to be on. So AHQ will be on blue side every single game in this 5-game series, and Flash Wolves will be on red side for these games.
Yep, so if Kindred first pick really was AHQ's plans all along, we'll have to see if that changes here. I really did not like the way that went for them this time, and it's not like they can change their choice of side right now, so they've got to come up with some other strategy that revolves around getting a powerful pick early on and not having to worry about the counter pick.
So far, the bans coming in are the exact same from each side. So I'm very interested to see. Oh, the Zed ban is a different ban right now.
Yeah, that makes me think that Chawi's going to be pulling out something that's weak to that Zed.
Yeah, most certainly. That's what it would look like, considering they left up the Azir. Mm-hmm. So it needs to be weak towards Zed, but also strong against Azir, unless they're planning on first picking this Azir.
They were really pressuring Flash Wolves, not banning Azir this time, so no, Kindred's still going to be the pickup here. That gives Flash Wolves the ability... Nope. Oh, okay. Yeah, there it is. That doesn't leave very many options here for Maple if he wants a strong lane versus this Azir.
He could actually go Gangplank again and match the scaling, and it wouldn't be awful, but then that kind of limits them to putting in the top lane. Or they could actually go the Lissandra and try to do the same thing that AHQ tried to do to Flash Wolves last game. Saying Lissandra come in with the Kindred and just putting that immense pressure, because it'll force Azir to take cleanse against that lane.
Mm-hmm.
And Sword Art did amazing work on that Alistar last game, so I'm very happy to see what he can do with it on this game.
Yeah, first picked away. I think another thing that AHQ wasn't too great on last game was just their armor scaling on Ziv. It just took way too long to ramp up against a very AD damage heavy team that the Flash Wolves had, going with the Maokai tank and then an AD damage mid laner. And Ziv all but ignored at the end of that game every time he tried to go in, because he simply just wasn't enough of a threat. This time, Maokai going to get picked up instead for Ziv. And Malzahar, a pocket pick that I've been seeing more recently, but only out of LMS.
And it actually got played in LCK last week too.
Oh yeah, that is correct.
And actually, it would do a very similar thing as Lissandra towards the Azir, because you would do the instant ultimate with the Kindred coming in, allowing them, but it looks like they might be picking up the top lane Echo instead.
Yeah, no pressure on Flash Wolves to pick up their mid laner just yet. But Malzahar, more than enough push to keep the lane shoved up against Azir so that he doesn't lose out in that regard, because not only do you have to be able to fight at a range, you also have to be able to match his wave clear in order to have the same amount of global pressure.
And taking cleanse against a Malzahar doesn't matter. You
Right,
can't cleanse the ultimate coming in from the suppression coming in. So it would allow them to do the similar thing and get the Kindred scaling very, very fast.
Soraka being hovered over by AHQ. I haven't seen this pick yet coming out from Taiwan, but very popular over in North America. Mostly popularized by Immortals, but this time Gragas being hovered over for the jungle pick.
This game, the pick ban phase has been a lot more thought out and a lot more delayed with the picks here ranging down. Waiting to see if these picks get locked in here.
And that's Bard for Albus. Just an overall very strong pick in general because of the way that he's able to start fights from far away. Almost like the support version of Ashe is how I would classify that ultimate. Of course, a little bit more likely that you end up hurting your team more than it helps. But the thing about Tempered Fate is that because of the larger area that it covers, and the advanced warning that it gives your opponents, even if it does not manage to bind them, it may force them into a very unfavorable position, allowing the rest of your team time to catch up regardless. LeBlanc, looking like the last hover here for the Flash Wolves. Looks like they've abandoned the Malzahar strategy. And
I'm waiting to see what happens with the lock-ins. LeBlanc is very interesting in Azir. You have some early pressure, but as Azir gets items, because of the squishiness of LeBlanc, he'll be able to push her out of lane quite fast.
Yeah, and LeBlanc just doesn't scale that well into the late game. And if she's looking to pick off Chawi, who might end up going into that Abyssal Scepter or even a Zanya's Hourglass to stay alive, On, who will be likely going for a Maw of Malmortius later on in the game, Kalista just becomes very hard to kill because of how many lifesteal items she ends up building into the late game.
It seems like Flash Wolves might, in this pick ban phase, have made the same mistake that AHQ made last game, not having very much scaling and being put in a situation where if the game goes long, it's going to favor AHQ.
I think Flash Wolves definitely, the difference though being that Sword Art is still on Alistair, which gives him the power to dictate fights if he has his flash up, or even if he's just finds himself in the right position. And as we've seen so far, Sword Art is very, very good at picking those pulverizes to start the fights off on the right note for his team. So, as far as not allowing the rest of the team to scale up, Flash Wolves have much more power here to dictate the pace of the game.
Yeah, I do believe their early power is going to be a little bit stronger coming into this game. With Mountain getting cut out so much last game, this game it'll be interesting because the Gragas is a little bit more tanky, a little bit more forgiving if you step out of line a little bit. Plus, you have a very, very high engage. If someone tries to go on you, you can do that flash body slam into the cast in order to push people back in your team and to get picks. And with the Azir wall, you can stop people from getting to you.
Right. It is just a definite. It's just a definite improvement over HQ's composition last game. If we're gonna criticize the non-scaling factor of their composition, otherwise, we are now into the game, and we'll have to see if the world famous LMS lane swap comes through this time. But it looks like both bottom lanes hightailing it for the bottom side.
Looking like a standard line of scrimmage with the safe start.
Yeah, I wouldn't give... This isn't like a Caitlyn matchup where one lane is clearly outclassed by the other, so... And we've seen the Maokai Echo matchup also come out fairly even. And whether that's due to because of the way that towers are pushed in early and a lack of time actually spent facing each other in lane, or if it's because of how Maokai was recently buffed and how he is a viable counterpick to Echo.
Another thing to point out is the Sword Art actually has Thunderlords on Alistar, which is not something you see very common over in the West. You see a lot of times the Windspeaker's Blessing or maybe even the Bond of Stone coming in order to give some more innate tankiness.
Yeah, Windspeaker's Blessing is so strong with the armor and MR that it provides, especially on a champion like Alistar. And this is what Riot has been worried about, is having this AoE heal on a tank engaged champion doesn't make much sense, but it does give him that advantage. Of course, not opting to go for that because he's instead going to be looking for some early trading power with that Thunderlords. Speaking of trading power, those two mini golems going to go over Karsa. Albus attempting to disrupt the double jungle path here a little bit, but arrives at the wolf camp a little bit too late. And the lane swap actually did happen. This is one of Alistar attempting to do the same thing on the opposite side of the map. But AHQ did start in the bottom side at the red buff.
Yep, but the tower's pushing in here soon, and it looks like we're going to see a rotation coming up from MMD to possibly dive Ziv here.
Right, so it is the Flash Wolves that opted to go for that lane swap for whatever reason here.
My guess is they're looking to hit their mid-game power spikes faster, so they want the global gold. Plus, they got them a little bit off guard, but they're not going to be able to get this tower because of the wave management, because they didn't delay the waves long enough in order to build them up. So they're going to have to wait a while, whereas if you look at Anne and Elbows right now, they've been able to delay the waves to push in, and with Mountain coming in the bot lane, they might actually be able to get an advantage with the towers here.
Mm-hmm. Jungler's going to trade buffs, though, 2 buffs each for both, because Karsa did make it over to the enemy blue buff here. And I think what you're saying is right. It's if Flash Wolves really does have the better mid game, they want to accelerate it so that they can start dictating the pace of the game before AHQ reaches any semblance of that scaling late game power.
The only problem is that I think if they go for 2 towers, they might actually get out-pushed here.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Bot lane now backing off. This is standard where they decide to give all of that solo gold over to the top laner, and then what happens now is likely the swap back in order to take down the other turret that's still standing on the enemy team. Yeah, and we see right here, the bot lane swapping now so that they can take down the other outer turret.
A little bit difference here if you look at the wave management. It got pushed. Flash Wolves actually pushed in, whereas AHQ tried to bounce the wave in order to grab it originally until he saw that the rotations were probably going to come in. But he originally had it to where it would have actually bounced to his tower. So he could catch the wave gold there coming in.
Right. Yeah, MMD's not going to be able to stay here for much longer because AHQ wants this turret. If you look at Ziv right here, he never actually even bothered going bottom. He's going to head straight up top because he wants to help his bot lane take this turret, and then eventually that becomes a free farm lane. Albus might be looking to stop the back here from Mimi Dunn. Gragas is also up here. They could be looking for a dive, but no. Yeah, AHQ wants him to go back just so that they can get this turret here as soon as possible. Flash Wolves way ahead of them down here because nobody went down in response to this.
Yeah, because Ziv didn't push out the wave and bounced it a little bit, it allowed Flash Wolves to pick up the wave management in order to be able to put more pressure on the tower and proxy waves.
And this is definitely about as standard as it gets in LMS, funny as that sounds. Standard lanes are not standard by any means, at least in the current meta. Looking towards the middle lane, it's an okay matchup right here. LeBlanc is not likely to have the advantage due to the range that Chowie has, but both champions actually forced into the early Negatron cloak.
Yeah, and they're selling exactly the same amount of farm here.
MMD might want to change that here as the gank on Chowie continues. He actually flashes, doesn't get the EW to escape, and that's first blood going down to Kindred. Meanwhile, AHQ distracted by the Rift Herald. Oh, forced the heal out of On. Actually, that's another disadvantage for AHQ. They do get the Rift Herald, but so far we've seen that this Rift Herald doesn't end up making that much of a difference in the end.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like in LMS they trade the Rift Herald for the Dragon nearly as much as what happens in the West, where a lot of times you'll see these pushes happen. They'll both rotate to Dragon or the Rift Herald. Even after getting a kill mid, they would have had pressure still to grab that Dragon with 3 or 4 people.
Yeah, I think the difference here is that they opted to go for that kill. Otherwise, no doubt Flash Wolves would have backed up right into the Dragon, but Karsa electing to go for that pressure on the mid instead because they want this LeBlanc rolling as soon as possible. Is really the whole point of this pick. If she cannot get the kill on the Chowie a few times in this early game, then the rest of the game becomes much more difficult. What is up with that Kindred Ghost? That was a strange interaction.
It must have not walked into the bush, maybe.
Yeah, as it scouted around here, that means AHQ doesn't have as much of an idea right now where Flash Wolves are. They do suspect it though. Not putting all of their eggs into that Ghost's basket, fortunately for them. But yeah, that could have been really unlucky right there for On.
Yeah, and coming in with this Rift Herald, he should be able to push very hard now and actually be able to pick up that Dragon objective because they'll have pressure on the bot lane with the Rift Heralds coming in and possibly make rotations towards the mid lane.
Yeah, this is very smart from AHQ. Knowing that Flash Wolves haven't taken that Dragon, this gives them positioning on this bottom side as well. So it really looks like it just helps you get your waves to the turret, but in parallel pushes, it hasn't really helped the team with the Rift Herald actually gain the push advantage or the tower objective advantage in the long run. As we saw last games with both inhibitors going down at 14 minutes. This time though, oh, the flash engage from Sword Art forward onto On, and On flashes as well after taking the Ignite. Gets the Shrine to get a little bit of a speed boost out here, but the Mountain is now here for the backup. We see Maple skirting around the outside a little bit. He was debating whether or not he wanted to roam down. But now that's both summoners down from On this early into the game.
And this means for this next few minutes, that pressure coming in from that LeBlanc, if he ever does any roams, should be able to put a lot of damage on and pick up some kills.
Right, he does need to be hitting On before On gets all those defensive items that Kalista can build. But Chowie's still here. No, he doesn't see the fight because Kindred has been spotted out by that ward. Maple just to get the blue buff though, so they weren't really making their way down there, but Mountain decides not to take any chances. And ironically enough, that's actually Flash Wolf setting up control over Dragon here. Chowie takes a little bit of damage here with the Thunderlord's proc to top it all off. But Chowie doesn't have the blue buff here right now, which means he's missing that cooldown reduction, which could mean the difference between life and death if LeBlanc decides to take this fight. But Karsa coming around for the flank, the pulverize from Sword Art, clean again on On, and now he has no summoners to survive this one. Exhaust on NL is not enough. Albus wants the Magical Journey to get out too, but NL's way ahead of him. 2 kills for Kindred, actually.
And this is Flash Wolf showing what to do with this Kindred pick. You need to pick up those kills. You need to get that damage. You need to snowball off of the leads that you can pull. Mountain might be staying a little late here.
He has no mana left. Is the body slam already down? I believe it was blocked by MMD. Gets out safely, though. Fast push strategy continues here as Flash Wolves gets this inner turret with likely no objections from AHQ. Despite On running as fast as he can up here, but he can't save it.
And MMD is going to go up top and catch that late wave, and it'll be... I'm curious to see if they will pick up this Dragon here on the way out, but it doesn't look like they're going to with the backing.
Yeah, it's weird. They simply don't care about that Dragon right now. It's possible that if they don't really have much of a late game strategy, if their whole goal here is to end the game before 30 minutes, then that Dragon means nothing for them, only increasing the risk of them getting caught out or something bad happening to them right now, but I don't know if I fully agree with that.
Well, I definitely know the first Dragon is very important. After the first Dragon, it's not as important, depending on which one you're looking towards. Because you do get that increased damage, and you do get increased movement speed, both of which are very, very useful for... Because first Dragon gives you 6% attack damage and ability power. So, I mean, that's just added damage for what they need to do.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really strange here, because Flash Wolves, instead, getting up to the top side of the map as fast as they can... we don't see the timer for Rift Herald, so... But there's no doubt that this is what they're setting up for here.
Yeah, it's relatively short. I believe it's in the next minute 30.
It's a 5-minute timer, I believe.
Oh, no, it just spawned. Just
Yeah,
now.
there it is. But prioritizing Rift Herald over the Dragon, just for that fast push. It looks like their next target's going to be top, no doubt. That wave's going to shove up. They get the Rift Herald, show back up with the buff, and take that turret as fast as they can.
Yeah, Kalista's in the bot lane right now, pushing out that lane so it catches, but MMD should be able to match. His teleport is down, but he should be able to rotate fast enough because the only objectives are the Rift Herald and the Dragon, and they're not setting up for Rift Herald right now.
No, so he can go for the middle lane instead. Mimidan doesn't have teleport, as like you said.
And that's that damage coming in from the Azir. He doesn't even have a full item right now, but he was able to still chunk down NL because he's Azir. Incoming flashy little play from Maple to try to be sneaky here, to possibly pick something up with that ward over the back river wall.
Yeah, Chowie might run into danger here. Uses the soldier to scout out that bush, but that's not the one that Maple is in. Does have a pink ward to spot him out now, though. And so they're still hovering around this area. We did talk about the Rift Herald earlier, but they haven't decided to pull the trigger yet. I think waiting for Mimidan's teleport to come up so that they can make a better team play.
Yeah, his teleport should be up shortly, plus he's able to push in this lane. And right now, would actually be a good time for AHQ to take a fight, or do some poking down and just scale, because Ziv right now has his teleport up, so they will have the rotation and possibly a 5v4.
Yeah, I think 1 minute ago would have been great for AHQ because now Echo is in top of that turret. So if Ziv decides to leave, they lose that turret for free, or the inhibitor turret rather, because they did already take the inner. Ping's going down on the dragon area from Flash Wolves here. Likely because that mark actually just spawned on the Scuttle Crab. Kindred taking the bait right here, so they lose the control that they had over the top side here. Especially because Echo is backing off. So it remains to be seen what Flash Wolves' plan right here for the next few minutes of the game is. Because if they get that Scuttle Crab, then they also have a little bit of advantage over Dragon, which AHQ has also not prioritized yet this entire game.
Yeah, do you know if the Kindred is running Warrior or Devourer for her jungle item?
It's definitely a Devourer, yeah, it's kind of hard to see. But purple and red, way too similar.
Yeah. So that's what I was curious about, because you can do Red Smite Warrior, but that's with that Dragon pressure in there, that gets you 6 stacks. So that's actually a really, both that and Rift Herald both give you extra stacks for taking them. So, and it looks like maybe they're looking at this Dragon now.
So that's even more puzzling to me is why they didn't take the Rift Herald for those extra 2 stacks while Dragon was still down, because it would have been a good rotation for them.
It looks like this Dragon isn't going to be contested at all, and AHQ might be looking just to possibly scale into this game and not try to take mid-game fights.
You know why they might not have gone for that Dragon earlier? It might have been because the Devourer was not finished yet.
Yeah, they might have been trying to save it.
Because 5 stacks is just such a huge number. Swordart, though, forced to pop the Ungrippical Will because he wants to engage on the Mountain. Mountain actually very low. Karsa dashing forward, the front line of the team now, and he has the ultimate to get out of this one alive, but Mountain does not, has to back off.
And that call not coming out from NL.
Yeah, unfortunately, not too much damage on a double AD carry composition at this point in the game right now, but Mountain, nevertheless, almost dying. Squishy as can be right now with no tank stats. Chowie, though, forced to pop the barrier. Doesn't block any damage, but he will survive this one unless that Ignite is stronger than I think it is. But the double stun on the Maple and MMD actually in response from Albus might save this turret here for Flash Wolves.
Yep, and now the summoners are down for Chowie, and they should be able to push some more objectives and possibly get some more picks off.
Oh man, yeah, that is Ignite from Maple down as well, so he loses that kill pressure, but Chowie a little bit slow on the barrier might have given enough reprieve to stay in lane. At the same time, it wasn't really necessary because AHQ was able to keep Flash Wolves away in the end. With some well-timed Cosmic Bindings from Albus, actually. And so I want to see some counterplay from Albus here. All we've seen so far is Swordart going crazy with the pulverized combinations, and Albus not really having much to answer so far on either Braum or the Bard.
Yeah, I just feel like if they can keep this gold leaf closer, then
Chavi yet again in trouble, though. Takes a little bit of a Shurima shuffle zigzag to lose his tower regardless.
And I feel like if AHQ can just scale and not lose too many objectives, then they'll be able to come back into this game coming in a little bit later because they're not down by that much gold right now.
Oh, man.
They're ahead. Are they ahead?
4,500 though at 16 minutes. That's not a small amount by any means.
No. So, but they do have the scaling, and that's really, really important for this team. They should have realized that they're going to go down early to try not to give up too much and to try to scale a little bit in.
Right. I just can't believe that over the last couple minutes, nothing much really happened until that dragon was taken by Flash Wolves. So there was a good chunk of time right there where both teams were just farming. On gets a little bit of aggression from Maple right there, but he is standing right next to Albus. Half health from that combo from LeBlanc. LeBlanc reaching her strong point right now with the Abyssal Scepter already completed. No completed Abyssal Scepter from Azir because he did have to go for that first Nashor's Tooth. NL is just power pushing this lane though. They're opting to go for this tower or this lane that already has the downed inner turret. No, the back off just to keep it pushed. To keep tabs on Ziv and make sure that he stays in that area of the map.
With the Kalista top lane, assuming that Azir doesn't rotate, they could actually push down this bot lane tower. As long as Azir doesn't rotate. Or try to do a 1-1-3 push with rotations coming in from Maple and MMD.
I think it just goes to show that AHQ prioritizes that Rift Herald much more than Flash Wolves does. Because Flash Wolves hasn't made any sort of moves towards it despite having full control of the map. And it would really help their cause here too, so...
Yeah, I definitely think that Rift Herald, if you're looking at doing a early mid-game type of team where you need to snowball in order to be able to push things, that Rift Herald's going to be very important for getting those waves up and in order to take towers and stopping the Azir from being able to instant clear things.
Oh my god, that hurts so much from Azir. 3 auto attacks from that soldier down to half health from an L. And just waiting for these fights to break out. But Flash Wolves have been really, really good about picking their engagements. It's always a sword out, catching out one person, and doing that wonderfully for them so many times in a row now.
And Swords flashes up too, so I expect to see some big plays coming out here in the next couple minutes.
Yeah, I really wouldn't be surprised to see them start banning out this cow because it's really been Flash Wolves' enabler though, but Mimidan is a little bit surrounded right here. Fate's called to knock him up after his ultimate's already gone. Karsa just going to hightail it out of there because his teammate is already dead. Flash though, Tempered Fate is going to land on Mimidan. There's no way he's making out of this one. He tried really hard and Echo, just not Echo enough to get out of that one alive. Finally, advantage being taken by AHQ right there. Overzealous pathing by MMD right there. Trying to do what he was doing earlier on the bot side and shove that lane all the way in, but it's a little bit harder when you're going up against a bot lane with so much CC like Albus. And then Mountain to round it all off. And we've seen Gragas into Echo quite a bit because he does have so much displacement. It's able to counteract what Echo can throw at you as far as being able to run around and ultimately escape. And what we were talking about before, AHQ is the first one to take the Rift Herald. Dash forward from NL because he wants Chowie, and Sword Art does have the flank, the good flank. Chowie now 2 deaths in this game, and the perfect setup for this tower because Ziv has teleported in to try to defend it though. MMD a little bit on the side to scout away the Bard here, but Ziv has actually been taken down really low. Bard goes down to Echo, and Maple dashing it back in for the kill onto Maokai as well. On now, the only one alive trying to defend this turret. Flash Wolves have taken a good advantage here, 3 for 0 so far onto this turret. Maple wants more though, does still have the distortion. Clone to tank the turret a little bit, but it doesn't have the damage to finish off on. Flash Wolves are just so much better at picking these fights.
Yeah, they seem to be able to set up such good fights, especially to start. His flash is down now. Able to get those picks, and I think sometimes it's AHQ staying in a place when they don't have the ward vision, which allows Flash Wolves to come in behind and do these 4 to 5 man ganks and to pick up kills and then push objectives off of it.
Yeah, Flash Wolves have just had control of that enemy jungle this entire game. And even last game, that entire bottom side of the jungle was a sea of red wards. And them just picking their fights extremely smartly when Sword Art can find the positioning. Ziv teleporting into his own doom here. As Albus and Mountain, yeah, actually coming in from the side. This would have been a good positioning for them had they arrived just 15 seconds earlier, I think. Yeah, a little bit of embarrassment for AHQ right there. They might have had a plan, had an inkling of a plan to come in and try to take that fight under their own turret, but unfortunately arriving just a little bit too late. That means Flash Wolves extend their gold lead to over 6,000 right now. 21 minutes and 40 seconds into the game.
And that LeBlanc now has a finished Merlin Namakan as well as Abyssal coming in, so she should start doing a lot of damage for those that don't have MR. So if she can get any picks on even Chaoe, even though he does have the Negatron Cloak, she will still do a lot of damage to the Azir.
Yeah, Chaoe wants the Rylai's actually as his second item, rather than finishing off that Negatron Cloak into any sort of completion.
Well, the good thing about Rylai's is it actually gives you health stats to benefit with your magic resist. So a lot of times you see the Negatron Cloak built in with health, which he just got health right now. In order to make that magic resist stat a little bit more cost effective and useful, because it doesn't matter how much magic resist you have if you only have 1,500 health.
Right. Yeah, and also as I say that, I remember that Abyssal Scepter only has 5 more MR than a Negatron Cloak, right? It's like 5 or 10.
Yep, it's not very much.
Mm-hmm. And Chaoe, if he plays this correctly, he shouldn't be in melee range to take advantage of the passive, at least at the very beginning of the fight.
Yeah, but that Rylai's coming in will offer the slows in order to hopefully kite a little bit while putting out a lot of damage per second.
Now look at where Sword Art is right now. He's so deep in the enemy jungle, hoping to catch out an enemy member.
He can just wait off to the side knowing that there's no ward vision in that bottom side. And they can't run in and do anything about it because they just run around this ghost right now.
Very deft footwork right there to keep themselves out of watch of Callista. This little game of hide and seek right here because Flash Wolves relies on those picks so heavily to get an advantage. AHQ not going to fall for it this time though. Still focusing most of their effort onto the top side. They've established full vision control of the top side of their jungle and that Baron, but little do they know, Flash Wolves does not care about that at all. Okay, there's the Cosmic Binding to find Sword Art.
Yep. I think they realized after that last game that we can't go near our bot side jungle because we don't have wards. So let's get wards on our top side jungle. We'll play the top side of the map while we can until the waves start pushing. We'll catch waves and we'll try to catch objectives off that because as we gain gold, we will start to even out the power difference coming in right now.
Right, yeah, it's too risky for them to prioritize bottom side because of the positioning, because of where Baron is, and also because if they're up in the top side, spending most of the time on the top side, Flash Wolves does have to overextend a little bit more to try to do any damage to the bottom side of their map, since that inner turret is already down here.
Yep. That Rylai's being finished by Azir is going to be huge. Chaoe will now be able to slow people as he inputs a lot of damage per second, and should start to be able to do more during these fights. He does have a very big 2-item power spike. I imagine next item will be his finished boots as well as the Abyssal coming in.
Yeah, all that needs to happen here is for Chaoe not to get caught and for the rest of his team to back him up. Tempered Fate to catch Karsa on the side. Chaoe's still alive, does pop the Emperor's Divide to keep him away, but he can't contribute to this fight any longer because MMD is on his butt, and NL is untouched so far. Chain the chase on coming around. Now through the side, now the full team is now here. Albus coming around the side, a huge explosive cast to separate the rest of Flash Wolves. AHQ might have this fight, but nobody has died yet.
Yeah, and that fight was very, very close. And you saw the Azir, once he got out with the little bit of health that he had left, he was still able to just send his soldiers in from a safe distance and input damage into the team.
Yeah, I really thought he was going to go down to MMD right there, but fortunately for him, able to stay alive, and that was probably the deciding factor that prevented Flash Wolves from taking any more advantage from that scenario. And AH2 actually faster to get back onto the map right here. We'll see if they do anything with it, but first the replay. Yep. And this is Sword Art, tried and true method of engagement, this time not going so well for him. And Mimi attempts to find this one. Ignite would not have been enough to kill him off as well. That was actually Alistar's Ignite, so a little bit lower damage because of his level. Oh, and MMD almost dying right there. Nick of time Chrono Break to get himself out alive. I don't believe you can cast Chrono Break while CC'd, though, can you?
No, you can't.
Yeah, so it was at the very end of that explosive cask. If he had been disrupted by that explosive cask for just a half second longer, that would have been a good advantage taken by AHQ for the first time in a very long sequence of events here this game.
And that Tempered's fate was huge in making sure that Chao Wei was able to get out of that alive.
Mm-hmm. Really only caught onto Karsa, but again, it doesn't have to land on anybody to make a huge impact in the positioning of the enemy team.
Well, what's good about even catching Karsa right now is their AD damage that was currently on Chao Wei was nothing. It was only Karsa, and Chao Wei has an itemized 4 AD right now. He's itemized towards AP, so any AP damage coming in, he'll take loss up. So actually stopping Karsa from being able to do damage helped to keep him alive during that fight.
Oh, I'm going to get found out by Sword Art. MMD, the one to dash forward and try to engage onto that one. Actually, Sword Art doesn't have to flash this time, so he can't make that engagement happen. But Flash Wolf is now on the run. Ziv does have the angle on the rest of the team, but actually Flash Wolf is going to back out and retreat to this dragon.
Yeah, and getting that instant flash from On means that his summoners are down.
Could be coming in for the steal here, but no, Tempered Fate just arriving right after him, the smite from Karsa. Maple dodging out the body stun from Mountain. And he wants more from this, though. Explosive cast to stop the chains from actually proccing. MMD taking Azir soldiers a little bit to the backside, but he's so tanky at this point already. And they had to defend this Azir turret to try to keep their game hopes alive. Mountain forced back by that, actually.
So now the problem is that Azir is going to be able to wave clear a lot of towers. So what they really should be doing with MMD having his teleport up is they can actually push the side lanes down. They can do 1-3-1, or they can look at doing a 1-1-3, or even a 4-1 to possibly get some pressure on the other lanes and then just TP in order to gain huge advantages.
Yeah, we see right there that bottom wave just crashed into the Maokai and bot side, and that was really what they were trying to do. When An was caught by MMD, he was down there trying to push that in, but the rest of AHQ very close by this time around.
And that Frozen Fist is actually almost done by MMD, so he'll be able to do a fair decent amount of damage to turrets and other people who come into the lane.
Okay, we see a smattering of vision for both teams on this Baron area, but Flash Wolves are the one with complete control of the inner circle here.
They
no
need
retaliation
to turn
from
instantly.
HQ right here. No Tempered Fate or anything to try to disable that because Tempered Fate is still on cooldown, actually. Mountain comes in, doesn't get the smite either. Karsa does secure that one. And now exhausted, an early exhaust from Albus to try to keep himself alive. One kill on the Gragas and another on the Bard so far for Flash Wolves. They have the advantage here. Chao Wei is forced away. He can't afford to fight this one anymore. Ziv is very tanky, but he's not tanky enough to survive the onslaught of 5 members of Flash Wolves. Maple actually makes it out alive as well.
And that's going to be huge for Flash Wolves coming in. No one came in from AHQ to actually contest that except for Gragas. If they would have all rotated with the Azir soldiers being there, they would have been able to do a lot of damage to Flash Wolves and possibly even clean up that fight. Because Flash Wolves doesn't have the tank in order to fully do Baron with a lot of the squishy champions that they have.
Yeah, this is AHQ reacting a little bit too slowly to this Baron, and it was all on Mountain right here to be able to get that smite, and unfortunately he wasn't able to pull that off. AHQ's really last-ditch effort here before they really lose control of this game right now, because I don't think there's going to be much they can do to stop the push with the Baron buff helping out Flash Wolves, because really, before all of that wave clear from Azir, maybe this time nullified from those extra defensive stats.
And that's not all of Mountain's fault, considering Karsa does have a level on him for that smite damage.
Mm-hmm. Dash forward from Maple. And I think Flash Wolves showing no fear of this Azir at all. This is what you have to do. You pick an Alistair or something like that can engage very early. And you blow him up over and over again. But it might also just be a testament to how poorly HQ is reacting to Flash Wolves' movements around the map. But Azir is definitely not too helpful to the team. Oh, though, NL gets caught, but has to cleanse the Cosmic Binding because he might die here. Unfortunately, Face Call doesn't do any damage, but Cosmic Binding certainly does. And Mountain to get the engage onto Sword Art and MMD, who's already popped his ultimate. He's going to attempt to run out of here. Maple waiting around the wings to try to get some damage on On. Isn't able to finish him off, though. Has to back out again. Tempered Fate dodged out by MMD. Mountain with dash forward. Flash force out from MMD. He's out of mana now. He can't phase dive anymore. But it doesn't seem like he has to. Mountain might have the body slam. Oh, Flash instead, actually. That was a little body slam on the end there to get the knockup, and that's the kill onto MMD. An advantage finally taken by AHQ. As NL stepped a little bit too far forward right there, giving up the advantage that his team had on that siege.
Yeah, and that just shows what can happen if they don't play perfectly on the side of Flash Wolves here. They need to not miss position, they need to put themselves in, and they need to be able to take these objectives. But it looks like they're going to get the inhibitor mid lane tower.
They're going to get it anyway, because an AP champion with a whole line of Marin sieged up minions behind her is still going to do a ton of damage to these minions, or to these turrets. And is it just me, or are inhibitor turrets squishier than inner turrets? Because it really seems that way.
I don't think so. I think part of it has to do with the Baron buff that's probably going on right now. And how far ahead Flash Wolves actually are as far as gold was concerned. Because they do have a pretty close to a 10k lead here. Mm-hmm. But that shows what that Azir can do if any squishies go up too far. Even though they had Baron buff, he was able to do so much damage to NL, which allowed the pick to come up from On.
Right. Good play from Albus coming out. Those 2 clutch bindings to secure that kill onto NL really made all the difference right there, because he did already have a QSS. No doubt to try to avoid those kind of scenarios.
Yeah, totally. And Sword Art's Flash is up, so I expect to see more plays from Sword Art coming in here soon. Just throwing that out there.
Right. But what we've seen so far is that Flash Wolves' plans really fall apart here once their carries start getting a little bit tankier. We saw when that Rylai's was finished that they weren't able to finish off Chawi on that engage. And I think the same thing is going to start happening here to On as he picks up his Maw of Malmortius. But here comes Sword Art with his signature move, and On is taken down very low already. Maw shield popped, and MMD wants to finish him off. Maple too, but Maple actually gets blocked up by some sort of knockout. Oh, that was the Fate's call to save him. On finally goes down, and that's already 2 kills for Flash Wolves, unfortunately. And that's a double kill for Echo now. Maple on the chase, MMD as well. Frozen Gauntlet for the slow onto Albus. Maple can get this one with Distortion. Ziv, full health after that one, not even in that fight. That's 4 for 0 for Flash Wolves. I think that's going to be the end of the game.
Yeah, those death timers are going to be very long right now. Unless Ziv can pull out some last-minute magic, I'm pretty sure that this one is also over. And even if he can, the bot wave is crashing, and they'll be able to take that inhibitor too.
Oh man, if AHQ can't keep better tabs on Sword Art, then they are going to lose this series flat out, because his Alistar has been the one thing that really turns the tables for Flash Wolves. Otherwise, they seem to be running around, both teams really running around that mid lane kind of scrimmage, and nothing really happening until Sword Art's Flash comes back up, or until he's able to get a good position to use his Headbutt Pulverize combo. And
I don't want to see Sword Art have Alistar next game if I'm sitting on the side of AHQ. He made so many plays that game with that Alistar.
Yeah, we see Stake right there, the coach for Flash Wolves. He used to be the former top laner. And we'll see if Flash Wolves are able to do anything to get Alistar one more time for Sword Art, or if they have something new that they want to try, because they are already up 2 games in this series, have a little bit more wiggle room. Maybe they pull out something that they want to use for MSI. We'll see, though, in Game 3 of this series.